and welcome to a Sunny Days episode of We Only Look Thin. I am your host, Katherine Weigel, and I've lost a bunch of weight. And with me today is my husband,
Donald Weigel, who has also lost a bunch of weight. To be more vague about it, I've lost about 100 pounds.
It's funny. Our daughter had to do something for English, and the only adjective she used in one of her papers was cool. Like, I don't know, thought it was cool. It was cool looking. It was cool to see.
Yeah.
And so it was cool to do a project on that cool thing.
It was very cool.
And so I was like, how about you use another adjective? So I'm just saying a bunch. That's my new, I'm just trying out bunch to see how that feels.
Yeah.
I'm workshopping it. So
feels great. It's like bananas.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can go many ways. But hi there and hello. And speaking of sunny days, we are going to take you on a trip down memory lane or memory Sesame Street in this delightful episode of We Only Look Thin.
First, a warning for our younger listeners. There may be a monster at the end of this podcast.
Dun, dun, dun.
No, not really. But
Spoiler! I thought the spoiler was that we were going to be talking about...
Yes, the inspiration for this podcast is the children's book. I actually don't know how old it is, but
it's as old as me, I'll tell you that much.
Called There Is a Monster at the End of This Book.
Beloved.
Yes.
Beloved book.
And the book stars Grover from Sesame Street.
Yep.
And it starts out with, you open the book and Grover's like, wait a minute, what did that title page say? Did it say there was a monster at the end of this book? I am super scared of monsters.
And through page after page, it is a page turner because you literally have to turn the pages to see what's going on.
Yeah.
It implores you to stop turning the pages
because
there is a monster.
There's a monster at the end of the book. Quit turning the pages. What is wrong with you? You know that what's going to happen. Stop turning pages.
And he tries to nail pages shut. He tries to tape them shut. He does everything in his power.
He builds like a brick wall, I think, at one point to stop you from turning pages.
We all emotionally build brick walls, don't we, Donald?
Oh,
what?
Man. You just dropped that on me like a ton of bricks.
He does actually build a brick wall at one point. But anyway, he implores. Spoiler alert for the kids out there. At the end of the book, the monster ends up being Grover
himself.
What?
If any of you are fans of sci-fi in any sense, you have realized by now that the real monsters are always us.
It's irony.
Always ourselves.
So Grover teaches us in this that we are the monsters ourselves. But do we only read that book once, Donald? No, we read it over and over again.
No,
because
we read it to our daughter probably 78 times, like when she was little.
And we talked about recording this episode, and she started talking about it again and then wondered where our copy was.
Yeah.
But we like drama. We like anticipation. We like build-up. We like fear. We like building up that story for ourselves. And we think that when we leave childhood behind, that the monsters are gone. But it turns out
the monsters are looking back at us in our own mirrors.
No. But yeah, so that is the loosely built episode title, and it's our story that we're sticking with for this podcast. And as always, we are using childhood references to talk about our grown-up problems. So this episode is no different. But we're spending time on Sesame Street today to talk about the monsters at the end of our books.
So let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. COVID. There, I said it. There is COVID at the end of this book.
Whoa.
We're assuming that as we're recording this, COVID is still happening. We're in a season of COVID, and that can feel like a virtual monster by the things that we read on the interwebs, by the press conferences we listen to, by the panic that all of this pandemic is bringing upon us.
Yeah, by its very nature, it causes a lot of doubt and fear of the future to creep in. And, there's the famous quote, the only thing that we really have to fear is fear itself. And I think that a lot of that is very true.
Are we the first podcast in the world to connect Winston Churchill and Grover?
Yeah,
I think we might be. But we fear the unknown, and so much of our lives we base on predictability and what we can expect from our jobs and from our days. And in these times, many of us are displaced from our normal habits. We're not going into the office. We might have lost a job. Our kids aren't going to school. We're not connecting with people on a day-to-day basis like we did before. We're not just running into the grocery store to get something. We're having to plan ahead. And it can be very stressful. And for those of us who rely on predictability, this time in itself is unpredictable. And it's like we're, day after day reading There's a Monster at the end of this book. And we're the monsters. We're the ones exposing ourselves to negative media, to worry. And we cope with all of that by eating food.
Oh, eating food. She pointed at me and I went totally blank.
How are you coping with all of this?
I'm eating food.
There we go. We go. Sorry, we didn't actually prep that. That was
Doctor. Pump up the volume. But there is a certain comfort in realizing that we are our own worst enemies, because we know ourselves very well, or at least we can then, once we admit that, we can attempt to learn about ourselves very well and to then realize how we can combat these things.
But we also we did an episode called Sleeping with the Enemy maybe a year ago, which we yada yada at the end of the book. We explain that you are your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
But we did an episode on COVID loopholes, and we invoke those because of the uncertainty. And it is more important than ever to find structure in our days, in our movement, and in our calories in these times that we can't control. It's like that circle of things we can control, things we can't control. That can't control, that's a big old book of things we can't control right now. But we can control our movement, our activity, and what we're consuming, what we're looking at. And we've decided to make this a Sesame Street episode because, Sesame Street, I'm sure, did a very special episode on how to deal with stress by emotionally eating. But
I'm sure they must have.
But we've got some archetypes to talk about, and we're going to use the fine characters of Sesame Street, only characters found in the 1970s. I'm not going to talk about Elmo in this episode. All I know is he gets tickled. I'm not a big fan of touch. So
that sounds so wrong when you say it that way.
No, we're not going to talk about your more recent characters.
I'm so old that Elmo still feels like one of the new characters on Sesame Street. I think he's been around like 30 years at this point.
Yeah, we're not talking about the new characters. We're going back in the old school. We're going back in the Wayback Machine to the 70s and talking about our beloved characters, such as and including Oscar the Grouch. Maybe we should start with him, shouldn't we?
Yeah, Oscar the Grouch has the Grouch in his name.
It's the job.
and so you think like his actual thing is to live in a trash can and to be grouchy about everything. But when you really think about it, he's doing it to himself.
My guy could move out of the trash can if he wanted. There seemed to be lots of people in the neighborhood who were super chill with co-living, like Bert and Ernie. They probably had a couch he could have slept on, but he was like, this is my trash can. I'm going to be in the trash.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of us, we put that name upon ourselves. We decide that we are like, that I am Don the couch potato, and so I'm going to have to be a couch potato.
Couchy the couch potato.
Couchy the couch potato, exactly. Or, once we've decided that we are a type of person, it is very difficult to get out of our own way and realize that we are not that type of person. I used to say to myself all the time, oh, I can't possibly give up this or give up that, or I can't possibly fit in any more exercise into my life. And then guess what? I did it.
Yeah. I was listening to an NPR podcast the other day because I listen to NPR. Have you heard of NPR?
People who listen to NPR have to drop the fact that they were listening to NPR
What's
all
the
the time.
joke? How do you know someone listens to NPR? Don't worry, they'll tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was an episode on people who suffer from lack of sleep, insomnia, and people who identify as insomniac. I am an insomniac. I am a binge eater. I am, destined to be overweight forever. if you change the way you talk about your insomnia or your eating disorder, it matters. And studies have actually shown that people who say they are insomniacs tend to sleep more poorly than those who say I suffer from insomnia.
Like just imagine if Oscar had called himself Oscar the pleasantly dispositioned guy.
Or the possible of change guy.
Yeah.
And in the
Oscar the guy who can really do this.
Who can really up his status in life. I don't know if he's actually still in a trash can or not. I'm not sure if they've moved him up to some co-housing situation.
No idea.
But
again, our knowledge of this is like 40 years old.
And we were not interested in doing any research.
No.
No, that's not our jam. But the way we talk about our condition matters. Oh, I am from Polish heritage, and so I am destined to eat pierogies all day. I am Italian, so you know us, we love big meals.
Yeah.
I am Oscar the Grouch, and I am going to be grouchy. And you know that if you enter a conversation, he's going to have the grouchy side. You know, I'm going Eeyore right now, which is A.A. Milne, which has nothing to do with Sesame Street.
Whoa,
I'm just
you're
mashing
mixing,
it up.
Like, I think Disney has the rights to one of those and PBS the other one. I think you're getting us in big trouble.
Eeyore was really depressed. And as someone who suffers from depression, it means a lot to have friends stand by your side and not try to fix you and all that. But understanding that you can change your outlook by changing the way you talk about it. Oscar has some grouchy behaviors, but is also possible. It is possible for him to see the sunny side of life.
And I have been around. I used to be somebody who would curse a lot. And then I worked...
Not like set curses like a warlock, but actually swear like a sailor.
Exactly. And then I worked with somebody who cursed a lot. And it was so off-putting to me. It was like this person held a mirror right up to my face that I worked really hard to not be that guy. And I think that if you're around somebody who is constantly saying sad things or it's constantly self-deprecating, it can be really an eye-opener when you're doing it to yourself. Realizing that you have that inner Eeyore, who's not a Sesame Street character, I want to stress this again, but that you have an inner Eeyore talking to yourself can be really eye-opening and can really help to shine a light on the fact that you need to work on changing that for yourself.
Yeah. And there's also, we can't talk about Oscar the Grouch without talking about maybe the most beloved character from the Sesame Street iconography.
I'm dying to know who you're going to talk about.
The Cookie Monster. Speaking of being named what you are, like Jimmy Blacksmith, like because his dad was a blacksmith, like Cookie, he's a monster and he's a cookie monster. What else is he supposed to do but eat delicious
He's definitely
cookies?
Top 6.
I only have 6 on my list, so.
Yeah, so, you know, there's that whole, like, chicken and the egg thing, like...
Which came first?
Did he become a Cookie Monster because that was his name, or did they name him Cookie Monster because he ate all the cookies?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We're never going to know, but what we do know is he loves cookies. That's just his nature.
Just imagine, though, if his name was the Broccoli Monster, and he was still eating all those cookies. Like, you would think it was weird, right? But you can reframe, if you
it didn't test well, the Broccoli Monster.
Yeah. You say to yourself, I am a cookie monster. I have to eat all these cookies. You know what? You can reframe that and turn yourself into maybe not the broccoli monster, but maybe not so much of a cookie monster.
Can I tell you something that I
Sure.
actually did not tell you, so I'm telling you now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I bought these individual cups of chocolate and vanilla cake cup things.
Yeah.
170 calories. You can't afford not to buy a cake for 170 calories.
I don't like where this is going.
No. It's just funny.
Yeah.
So I made one of them the other night. It was delicious. It was moist. It was fantastic.
And now you want me to call you the cake cup monster?
No. So cup number 2, I stirred it up. And it looked an awful lot like Easy Bake Oven batter.
Uh-oh.
And I looked at it and I thought to myself, when I was a kid, I never actually used my Easy Bake Oven. I just ate the dough, the raw dough. And I thought to myself, and I took a little taste of it, and I was like, it tastes exactly like Easy Bake Oven dough. And I could just eat this batter right now without cooking it.
Oh, boy.
And then I remembered, Catherine, if you can't wait 40 seconds to eat this damn cake...
Yeah.
Pardon my français, but I cooked it. I wanted to say that I kept it classy. But for a second, I was like, I am a grown-up eating Easy Bake Oven food. I don't, like, my microwave is my Easy Bake Oven.
I'm going to have to go back in and edit the word darn over top of your saying.
But yeah, so that is my digression. But I associated myself with being the person who ate raw batter in secret, just as I did as a child. And then I said, no, I am a grown-up who can wait 40 seconds. I changed the way I talk to myself, and I ate it as an actual cooked piece of cake. I would like an award for that.
So you don't have to name yourself the Cookie Monster. What about Kermit the Frog? Do you think it was easy being green? Do you? No!
Literally, there was a song about it's not easy being green.
But you know what my boy Kermit did?
What did he do? Rainbow Connection, everybody, what's going to happen?
He took the fact that it wasn't easy being green and turned it into a song called It's Not Easy Being Green, and he made $1 billion.
Being
and now,
green.
The only green in his life is the green of the money.
The cheddar. Oh, wait, no, the cabbage. What do they call money? Green stuff.
Green stuff. Green spending paper.
Oh my gosh. We're apologizing. We're just going any Muppet, any character. We're just enjoying it right now.
My point is you can take your lemons and turn them into lemonade. Like, just as an example, I am a kind of competitive by nature. And so when somebody invites me to a Fitbit challenge, I want to win that challenge. So I have turned that competitiveness into something that actually motivates me to keep exercising. And gamifying things in my life in general, setting a goal for myself and then setting it, realizing what your tendencies, what your monster tendencies
your Muppet tendency is.
Yeah, your Muppet tendencies, and then turning them around to your advantage is a strategy that has worked really well for me.
Would you say that your Spirit Muppet is the Count?
Maybe.
The Count. He's
Who's
an upholder.
Your Spirit Muppet? Take this 20-question quiz. Go to weonlylookthin.com. No, we don't actually have a Muppet quiz on there.
But the Count loved counting stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing was better than counting. Was he born a counter, or did he learn to love the experience of counting? Because I would say, I think
did he love counting so much that the Queen dubbed him Count Von Count, like Baron of the Von Count land, because he loved counting so much? Or
we don't know, but Donald loves counting, and it is a way to quantify your habits. It is a way to take responsibility, to collect things. So he's collecting steps. He's collecting calories. He's collecting data to show him his progress.
And I don't do very well when things are loosey-goosey. And I just thought it was funny to say loosey-goosey. But so I have designed my eating plan around times. I eat exactly at 2 o'clock, exactly at 3 o'clock, exactly at 4. And I pride myself in it. It's like crossing a little mini finish line all the time. Also connecting to my competitive nature. Even I'm competitive with my own self. And it's sort of like I can do this and cross the finish line at a specific time. And that finish line is a snack.
Well, and here's the thing. 20 years ago, Donald would not have dealt with this COVID situation the way he is dealing with it now.
I just would have crawled into a container of cookies or ice cream or something.
He would have said something like, C is for COVID. That's good enough for me. Yeah. I'm going to eat all the cookies because it's COVID time, everybody.
Or purchased cases of beer and wine and just made it my mission to drink it all.
Well, at 9/11, I honestly remember crying in bed and eating. That was what I did.
Yeah.
And these times are different and they're more ambiguous and we don't know the end. It's not a finite tornado or a hurricane. It's a season that we're in.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to self-soothe with food and to let go of that structure and turn toward Oscar the Grouch or the Cookie Monster and just say, this is my nature and I can't deal with my health habits right now.
Yeah.
It's all too much to take. But we have 24 hours in a day. We can carve out 5 minutes for a bit of yoga. We can count our calories. We can set structures in place, like Donald was just saying about his timed eating, closing the kitchen at 8 o'clock. I know it's a broken record and we just keep using different parts of our childhood to make analogies about it, but like, it is so true that we are our own worst enemies, and we can be like the Grover who says there's a monster at the end of this book and lives in fear and the sky is falling, or we can turn it around like Grover did and become Super Grover. Super Grover made himself, he is a self-made superhero.
He decided that he wasn't going to be just regular Grover.
He decided
he was going to become Super Grover.
And he just was like, this is me. This is my new identity. And he took the time to just decide. I mean, I don't know how he flies. Physics aren't my game. I was not a physics major.
He reframed his life as Super Grover instead of regular Grover. And we're suggesting that you can do the same thing. Take your, for lack of a better term, shortcomings and turn them into positives, which is what I have tried to do all along. And realizing that I'm a lying liar who lies, that I am the monster.
There's a liar at the end of this book.
Yeah, I kept using everything else in the world as an excuse to not eat well and exercise, and it turned out that almost all of it was me lying to myself, and that I was the real monster in this case. And I have decided that I'm going to try to be more like Super Grover.
There we go. And also, I mean, knowing your predisposition, which Sesame Street character you are, like Bert and Ernie, they were all about outer accountability. Maybe you need, in this time of COVID, maybe you need a buddy to do Skype yoga with. Maybe you need some...
maybe you need your own version of a rubber ducky to sing to and tell that you're the one. Maybe you're the actual rubber ducky and you're the one singing to yourself.
Okay. But if you know your nature, know that your disposition is changeable, understand that some people don't need outer accountability and some people do. There's actually, because I'm going to talk about Big Bird now. I wasn't sure if I could work him into this because I would just sort of see him as a gullible...
I was getting ready to work towards Big Bird.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, no,
you could go toward Big Bird. But, okay, the whole joke was Big Bird would always see Mr. Snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
And nobody else ever saw Mr. Snuffleupagus.
When we were kids, people didn't believe, they thought Mr. Snuffleupagus was his imaginary friend, and only the viewing audience knew that he was real.
But all of the characters on Sesame Street were like, what's up with the Snuffleupagus talk? Like, what do you mean he was just here? Because I didn't see him.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we're on this health journey, we have eating disorders that other people don't understand. We have, someone mentioned the other day that their husband didn't understand why Katherine Weigel, would use prime numbers as an excuse to eat 3 Thin Mints, which I definitely invoked that, which is a weird thing, but it is actually part of my eating disorder. And other people might not see it. An upholder, someone who, one of my brothers is like, I just have a green smoothie and that's what I do, and you don't overeat because that's not what you do.
There are always people on the internet who, when people are confessing that they're struggling with their weight or struggling with eating, I always see these comments about people who are just like, you just need to toughen up. I don't understand the big deal. You just eat less and you exercise more and you're fine. And there's a lot more to it than that. But some people who have never had to deal with eating disorders, they don't understand where we're coming from.
Well, and my brother is very supportive of my journey, and he is the kind of person who sets his mind to something and can just do it. And he has been very supportive of my issues. But for those of us out there who aren't getting the support at home, who aren't getting the support from our friends or family, why don't you just eat less? Why don't you just move more? Those blanket statements can make us feel bad and make us feel invalid. Yeah, why can't I just get it together? When you start saying stuff like that to yourself, when you start believing that Mr. Snuffleupagus isn't real and it's all in your head, these eating disorders are real. These bouts of depression that I get are real. Nobody can just say cheer up and we go I hadn't thought about that. I'll just cheer up.
Yeah, just go outside more, get some more fresh air, and it'll all be better.
I need antidepressants as part of my regimen. And all of this is part of the Oscar the Grouch being negative. It takes practice to start talking positively to yourself. It takes stepping out of your comfort zone and trying new things, putting habits in place like the count, putting habits in place of getting in your morning fitness, pre-tracking your coffee, tracking your breakfast. All of that is a practice that is built over time. And Donald and I have had the benefit of practicing this for the last 4 years. And
even after 4 years, it still isn't easy. It is still something that I catch myself lying to myself about all the time. But the good news is that it becomes easier over time to at least recognize that I'm doing it and catch myself and try to reframe and get back on track.
Well, and two, like, I know that there have been other shows that have done this, but like when Jan Brady decided that she was the new Jan Brady, and like she's like, "Oh, I'm the new Jan Brady. I'm gonna like outshine Marsha." People can make fun of you for trying to change.
Yeah.
Like I went by Kathy when I was growing up. I didn't even know my name was Catherine until like 3rd grade. And I was like, who's Catherine? But when you try to change and be like, I want everyone to call me Catherine now, my family would be like, all right, pass the salt, Catherine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, new Jan Brady. If the Oscar the Grouch tried to improve himself, people would be like, oh, look at you improving yourself like a grown-up person. It can feel really scary to start trying to improve yourself when other people see you as something else, when they see you as Oscar the Grouch, when they see you as the Cookie Monster. Oh, this old trick, that's not going to last. Oh, sure, you're on another diet. Oh, that's
when
not
they
gonna
have
last.
pigeonholed you as a particular kind of monster, when they see you as the Cookie Monster or you as Oscar the Grouch, or you see yourself in those ways, it is so difficult to break out. Like, it is so easy for people to just think that you can't do it. And I, for many, many years, thought that I couldn't do it. And I had pigeonholed myself. I had given up on ever achieving my goal weight. I didn't think it was ever going to happen.
He really did. He actually, I think, said, I
give up. I'm not going to do it anymore. And then the monster of diabetes reared its ugly head. And it turned out I was the monster who gave myself diabetes. And I then had to face up to that and really make fundamental changes to my life. And thank goodness Catherine had already started working on herself, and that we went down this road together and have gotten to the place where we are now. It's so much better than being in the place where we were.
For sure. And we, as all of this unfolds and every day there is unpredictability, our kids are not in school. The school year is being pushed back. There are layoffs at our jobs. We understand that all of this is real and it is scary. There are real things to be concerned about. And so in this time, it is more important than ever to take inventory of your blessings, to take inventory of your resources and the things that you can control. You can control your spending. You can control what you're listening to on the news. You can control who you're connecting to, the podcasts you listen to, the books you read, and the stories that you tell yourself about what you're capable of. This might not be the time to focus on weight loss, but I will get in my steps every day because it makes me physically feel good.
Yeah.
I will not overeat because it makes me feel logy and tired. I will not drink every night because it's going to make me feel, hungover and foggy and not my best self. And my reaction time when I'm feeling sluggish and down is so much worse than when I'm feeling good in my own body. And that doesn't have to do necessarily with counting a particular calorie, but knowing that I need to stay away from my triggers, knowing that I will get a box of Thin Mints and eat them all. So maybe might need to step back from eating all the Thin Mints. All of our old nature has come with us into this new season. And the more we're able to call ourselves on our negative thoughts, to reframe things as positive, like there have actually been some positives in this. Donald and I are spending a lot more time together.
Yeah.
And
I'm actually kind of getting more steps than I was before this all happened.
We've been doing yoga as a family together. We've taken a look at our bank statements and actually canceled a couple of subscriptions that we weren't using.
Yeah.
And finding money from that, which, being more aware of our spending habits and our nature, being more critical of the way we're spending our time together as a family, going on walks together. So it's been helpful. I know I'm digressing a little bit, but we have a responsibility to be the best versions of ourselves. We owe it to our future selves, and we owe it to our past selves to be the best versions. Think of yourself when you were 5 years old watching Sesame Street. Like, would you honor the person that you see now? Like, are you Oscar the Grouch, or are you someone who's inspiring like Super Grover? Because I like Super Grover. I think he's awesome.
I do too. And let's all try and be Super Grover, shall we? And it turns out the monster at the end of this podcast was Super Grover.
Super Grover!
Yay! Thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you have some more info for us about what Sesame Street character you are, or Sesame Street characters we forgot, or Muppets we forgot.
You know, this might be the podcast where people are like, I'm done with them. They obviously, like, what other analogy can they make?
I think it's the podcast they'll decide that they're doubling down on We Only Look Thin. But please let us know. You can email us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitters at We Only Look Thin.
You can also do us a favor and leave us a review at Apple Podcasts. It really helps us out. It really, for one, boosts our ego. And for two, the more important thing is it really helps get the word out. If people are searching for our podcast, the more ratings and reviews we have on Apple Podcasts, the more it helps us. You can also go to weonlylookthin.com. If you're looking for a community of support during this time, you might be able to find it at Wolt Place. And if you'd like some more information on that, go to weonlylookthin.com and click on Join Our Support Group.
Yep. So if you're still not sure if Mr. Snuffleupagus is real or not, just remember that Donald and I are an inspiration.
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program. Asian. Franklin Roosevelt's the one who actually said that fear is fear itself quote.